At the gate he stood, bag over shoulder and cap on head. He tapped his foot, trying, with no success, to stop the trembling that shook his whole body. The gatekeeper watched him and laughed. If you don't have the courage, then turn around, go home, and enjoy your life. He was trying to, but Guilford Fremont had too many questions left unanswered to enjoy life. From morning until night, day after day, he was consumed by anxiety. Who was he, really? Who was his mother? Did he have any siblings? Was the man who claimed to be really his father? These were some of the mysteries that disrupted his sleep at night. There were many more. On the other side of the gate, death waited. There was no reaper cloaked in black, but a ticking clock. Gil knew that if he crossed the line and set foot upon the graveyard, the minutes of his dear life would be cut short. He had come with a plan. His father's body had already been located and identified. All he had to do was run in, grab the book, and run out. It was a good plan. The gatekeeper guffawed. Go home, coward. Just go home. Gil ran, not away, but right through the gate towards a truth. Maybe not the entire truth, but a hazy, tattered version of it. He could hear it, a clock unseen by the eye that blocked out the sound of everything else, even his own heart. Dead bodies half buried in the soil kept him from slowing down. Each one had his or her own book of life sticking out of the soggy muck, desperate to be plucked up and read by anyone foolish enough to stop for a read. He sprinted by the body of a young woman, her dead eyes milky and wide. She wore a frilly pink dress and pearl jewelry. Curiosity was not a safe thing to have in this place. You didn't linger, no matter how tempting. Gil Fremont turned and saw something even more jarring than the woman in pink. Four little boys, all younger than 12 but older than 8, were sunk into the mud together, their thin bodies arranged in order from tallest to shortest. Their arms were folded across their chests, and Gil wondered for 2 seconds if they died that way or were posed. On the left side of the tallest boy, three indentations suggested what Gil did not wish to think of. He didn't stop, though. His father's body was at the far end of the cemetery, where the gray stone walls separated those still living from the departed. More faces, bodies, gnarled hands, bent legs, and brand new books dotted across Gil's eyes as he ran to the remains of his guardian. The man had called himself Mero Archangel Fremont. Not until it was pointed out to him at age 8 did Gil consider this name to be odd. There were no other Fremonts where they lived or visited. Not one. And who names their son Mero? The end was in sight. Gil saw the gold cross on the ground. The only gold cross he had seen since entry. He didn't know who put it there or why. Knowing was not a part of his plan. Get the book and run. That was it. Guilford Fremont came upon the body of his late might-be father. He looked perfect. His eyes were closed, hands neatly one on top of the other at the waist. The hair of Merrill Fremont was expertly styled and his suit was without flaw. His body, unlike the others, rested on top of the earth rather than have stuck in it. Exactly like the others, his body was perfectly preserved, even left exposed to air, weather, and vermin. Merrill Fremont's Book of Life had a white cover. It was beside his head and completely clean. Not a speck of dirt or debris had sullied it. Gil picked it up and meant to run, but he couldn't. The ticking sound slowed down and eventually stopped. Gil forgot about minutes and seconds and hours. He stood there and opened the book to page 1. It was blank, as were pages 2 through 7. On the 8th page there was a passage written in a language that he couldn't read. Gil continued turning page after page until he saw familiar letters and words. They were on the last page. It was a poem. A book of white and truth long kept, marked with cross of gold, the wake once slept. Time passes not for those of ageless race, but keep divine powers with back turned to grace. Gil dropped the book and walked away. He didn't look back. Each step that he took towards the gate felt heavier than the one before it. His last step was near the boys, a perfect line of them, young and handsome and nearly identical. Not nearly, identical to each other and to Gil. Guilford Fremont could no longer move forward or back. The indentation in the ground next to the tallest boy looked so comfortable to him. He felt a hand on his shoulder and a warm voice in his ear. A coward, you are not. Gil knew that voice. He knew the feel of the hand on his shoulder. Gil stole a glance at him. The man standing behind him, Merrill Archangel Fremont, was not a man. Not really. And now you know. But you always have, Merrill Fremont said. The clock has stopped. Have a rest. Have two more tries. Gil took his place beside the tallest boy. At the ripe young age of 13, he was only a hair taller and just as thin. It was so comfortable. Had he known how warm and welcoming a grave could feel, he'd have come sooner. Gil crossed his hands over his chest and closed his eyes. Merrill Fremont placed a hand on Gil's forehead. Rest peacefully, Guilford Archangel Fremont. The next one will be an Archangel too, as were the ones before you. I've two more tries. Guilford was drifting, floating away from light and time and towards oblivion and infinity. He heard the distant voices of Marrow and the gatekeeper laughing. May the next one live to be a man, the gatekeeper said. Marrow put a hand on Gil's heart. Yes, the next one, who will also have a good plan. Did you enjoy the story where archangels fall? I hope so. There are more to come.